Good evening to all the undead ghouls and monsters, or as I like to say now, our monster squad. We are your horror hosts for tonight's Last Rites. I am one half of your horror host, Brandon Brown, and always with me is my other half,
Ollin Hernandez.
And tonight we are bringing you the Conjuring universe. So, just sitting down this past couple weeks and trying to watch these movies, there is a lot of content and still more content to come for this universe, which is crazy.
Yeah, a lot of. I watched, I think, most of the stuff, but even in preparation for this podcast, I discovered even more stuff that I was not even aware of.
Yeah, I was never even aware about, and you brought it to my attention today, and I was just like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So if you guys aren't familiar with the Conjuring universe, this pertains around two individuals, Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were self-diagnosed demonologists, did work for the church, and they exorcised demons. And this is actually them in real life doing this. Like, these are everyday people that are, doing, to them, it was doing, the work of God, trying to save people. So, and these movies are their stories. Some pretty historical, some of them probably loosely based. And obviously, it's Hollywood, so some of the truth is stretched. Not by much, but they kept it as accurate as possible.
Yeah, dramatizations, I think.
Yeah, there you go. That's a good word for it. So, in this universe, there are 3 sets of movies, some tie-ins, some comic books, some shorts, and even more shorts, which we just found out today that they were doing after, would you say Annabelle Creation?
Creation, yeah.
Yeah, Annabelle Creation. So Warner Brothers and New Line Cinema, looks like they got together and tried to do this contest, is what Ollin was telling me about. And all these people submitted all these shorts. And what was the criteria again?
It was make a 2-minute film, creepy enough to fit into the Conjuverse, as they call it.
Nice. So with the Conjuring universe, there is, the self-titled movie, The Conjuring. This has 3 movies in itself, and then they had spin-off movies which are still pertaining to the universe because Ed and Lorraine were still involved with it, which are Annabelle Creation, Annabelle Comes Home, and then they have the 2 prequels, The Nun and The Nun 2. And then they have tie-in movies. There was 2 tie-in movies, and they had a third that they were going to make, which was canceled. The first one was called Wolves at the Door, which has a tie-in, and this was loosely based similar to on the Manson family. And then there's The Curse of La Llorona, and then there was going to be a movie called The Crooked Man, and that was actually canceled. They had poor reception from I guess their testing on it.
Really?
Yeah, they were going to go forward with it, but because it tested so poorly in the media and the crowds, that they just decided to nix it.
No, that sucks. The Crooked Man was one of my favorite ones.
Yeah, and actually, The Conjuring 2, and we're going to talk about our rankings for these movies later, but The Conjuring 2 was my number 1 movie.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I loved it. It was probably one of the best of the movie series. Everything from the scares to the story, the way it was shot, just everything. Just I couldn't find anything wrong with it. It was super cool.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I in fact, in rewatching the movies for preparation for this podcast, the first Conjuring I had in my mind as it can't be topped. It's such a good movie. But rewatching The Conjuring 2, I was like, no way. This is the one.
Yeah, totally. And then there are comic books. So we talked about this before in previous podcasts. DC Comics has a horror line called DC Horror, and they actually have 2 lines of comics: The Conjuring, The Lovers, and Tales from the Artifact Room. So 2 different series. Both of them, I believe, are 5 issues each right now. And Ollin, when we get to those points, Ollin will talk about those because he has read them. I haven't had a chance to read them, but we'll talk about those. And then there's the tie-in media, like we were just talking about with the shorts. So before the Conjuring universe, which the Conjuring movie was released in October, and these tie-in medias, which they have dubbed the 307 AM Project, were just 4 shorts that were released that had the Conjuring title tied into it, but they were still part of that universe. So it was basically like the Conjuring before the Conjuring.
Yeah, and you had mentioned that Ty West was actually one of the directors of one of the shorts.
Yeah, which is super interesting because I had no recollection really of Ty West until he put out the X movie.
Yes.
and Pearl, and then now he's doing Maxine.
Yeah, can't wait for that one. Yep.
Yeah. I'm really dying to watch that one. In fact, I don't think I even heard like when they're supposed to be releasing it. But we'll definitely let you guys know about that when it happens. I'm trying to find my papers here for the time. Here we go. Yeah, so these 4 shorts for the tie-in of the 307 AM Project, which, if you're also unfamiliar, in like the Amityville Horror, the remake with Ryan Reynolds, you can see a clock and it strikes 3:15. And if you actually go to our website, that's one of the main pictures on there, because somewhere between 3 to 3:15 is what they dub the witching hour, and then many different people have many different times. Obviously in the Conjuring universe, their time is 3:07. Amityville Horror, which I still think is somewhat connected to the Conjuring universe, because Ed and Lorraine also had their investigations for it, but theirs is at 3:15 when all the the weird supernatural shit was happening. So it's really your interpretation of what the witching hour is, but that's roughly about the time that takes place, and that's what this is named after. So they have 4 shorts. This one for the lady, which is directed by Nacho Vigalondo, and so all these directors are also the screenwriters. So they wrote the screenplay and they directed it. The second one is called The Seance, which is Max Landis. The third one, like we just talked about, it's called Box, which is Ty West's movie. And then the last one's called One Last Dive, and this is by Jason Eisner. So I'm actually trying at the moment to find these shorts. They might be on YouTube, but I haven't actually dived into that rabbit hole yet. So, but that's where Ollin found these other shorts that they did this contest for, which is obviously YouTube has everything. You want to learn how to fix your house, fix your car, watch a short, it's there on YouTube.
How to make pasta.
Yeah. YouTube's the answer, right? So yeah, those are your tie-in medias for the Conjuring universe. And then also like we talked about, Wolves at the Door, The Curse of La Llorona, and that canceled Crooked Man. So those would be all your sub movies for that universe.
Extra content.
Yeah, extra content. And along with the comics. So the Conjuring universe, we're going to go through and we're going to do when these movies were released, and then the actual chronological order of the release, of at least how they should have been watched, or how they should be watched. So the first movie is The Conjuring. That was the first one that was released. Second was Annabelle. Third was The Conjuring 2. Fourth was Annabelle Creation. followed by The Nun, Annabelle Comes Home, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It, and then last is The Nun 2. And also, just to touch on this real quick, is they have announced another movie in the Conjuring universe. So this will be Conjuring 4. And just like our podcast, it is titled Last Rites.
Yeah.
So they're in production of that movie at the moment. And then I just also read that there is a strong possibility of an Annabelle 4.
Really?
Yes.
That's yeah. I mean, I think that was already something that they thought of like way back when. Me, I'm more excited about seeing a third Nun, simply because I really like the Valak demon, which we will talk about more at length.
Yeah. I think Valak is what would he be, the protagonist?
Main antagonist, maybe?
Oh, antagonist. Okay.
Main villain.
Yeah. I think he's like genuinely like one of the best villains in a movie series.
Yeah.
Just because of the form and then the type of demon that he is, and how he's, how he attacks and how he
he's brutal.
Yeah, how his psychological like I lost my train of thought. He's just like, I think he's like one of the best villains out there. In the horror realm, he's the Darth Vader. To me.
Yeah. His modus operandi, I think, he's very smart and very effective, I think, too.
So, and then just to finish topping off on, like I said, with the fourth Annabelle film, that they also have talked about potential numbers of spin-offs. So just like The Wolves at the Door and The Curse of La Llorona. But these are going to be spin-off movies of the cursed artifacts. So maybe similar to the comic of the Tales from the Artifact Room.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're gonna try and pick, I think, particular items from the Artifact Room. Obviously, Annabelle was one of them, and that was a successful spin-off. So yeah, I hope they're gonna start to do that. They're in talks about it, but we'll see if they pull the trigger. But yeah, that's the order that the movies came out in, all the way from 2013 to 2023.
Yeah, 10 years of a very successful franchise.
Yes,
from what I hear.
Yeah, I mean, no other franchise really in the 10 years, except for Marvel, I think, has been that strong.
Yeah.
And Marvel's not even horror, and this is all horror.
Yeah, not only that, but I think the amount of money that they spent making these movies were in like like maybe $200 million, but they've made billions out of these. Like it's insane.
Yeah. And you want to give the rundown on the Conjuring universe timeline?
Yeah, so the timeline starts in with the movies at 1952, although I should say that it jumps around a lot from time to time, and it also there's flashbacks that date back all the way back to like the 4th century and things like this. So the history is very vast. But the movies pretty much start in 1952 with The Nun, the first Nun movie. It moves on to 1956 with The Nun 2. Then we go to 1958 with Annabelle Creation. Next is 1970, Annabelle, the first Annabelle movie. 1971, the first Conjuring movie. 1972, Annabelle Comes Home. 1977, The Conjuring 2. 1981, The Conjuring, The Devil Made Me Do It. Although they don't really consider it really a part of the Conjuverse. But 1973 is the year where The Curse of La Llorona takes place.
And then in it's 77, I think, the Amityville Horror,
right? Yes.
Like right before basically The Conjuring 2.
Yeah, I believe the murders began or happened in 1976, and then the family the Lutzes, is it?
Yeah.
They moved into the house in 1977, so that's when it takes place. Yeah.
Which I would love to see that added to the Conjuring universe if they are going to add some more movies. I mean, after they do Last Rites, but also depends on how long Vera and Patrick want to keep reprising their roles as Ed and Lorraine.
Yeah.
So that's really the main thing, because they've gone 10 years strong, and they keep doing it. So they're obviously not worried about being typecast, but. If they've got more movies under their belts that they can be in and produce, I would love to see it. I think they've worked out perfect as a couple, portraying these two characters.
Yeah, Patrick has had an extensive filmography, so I don't think he's afraid at all of being typecast. If I'm not mistaken, he's working with James Wan for the next Aquaman, the Aquaman 2, I guess. If I'm not mistaken.
Shit,
them
that's
two are gonna be working
right.
together
He's
for that.
Ocean Master.
That's right.
Oh man.
And he was Night Owl, so he's no stranger to comic book stuff.
Yeah. He was really good as Night Owl too. And then I forgot that he was Ocean Master. The worst thing I think I've seen him in was the A-Team.
Oh yeah.
And I can't think of what the
Right.
fucking that name of that agent that they kept saying like over and over. It's just he played. I mean, maybe it's not the worst thing, because that's how I love a movie is when I can get lost in it enough to where I hate that character and I want to wish harm and evil on them. Then I know. Fuck, that guy did an excellent job. If he provoked those emotions out of me, he's doing his job.
Yeah, that's immersion right there.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, good show. So, that's the timeline.
Yeah, I don't know where the wolves at the door would fall into that. Obviously, maybe it was like the '60s, because that's when the Manson family thing happened. 69, but it could have taken place pre killings, before they got to Sharon Tate in the house, because I don't really know what the movie's about. We asked our pirate to get the movie for us, but unfortunately this was another one that he couldn't get, because I also asked him about the 3:07 a.m. project, if he could find those shorts in his pirate world, but unfortunately those movies fell short. So, but yeah, that would be the other thing is where does the wolves play in at, and then also I can't wait to actually see it, to see what it's actually about and see how it's related to the Conjuring universe.
Yeah, where it all fits and everything like that. Yeah, because also there's, the Warrens were active for quite maybe 3 or 4 decades. So. There was a bunch of other cases that they haven't been explored in the Conjureverse yet.
Yeah, and it looks like their timeline starts in the 70s, like early 70s.
Yeah,
and then they go hard, for the next 3 decades.
Correct. Yeah, until I think Lorraine died very recently, like 2019 or 2018 or something.
Yeah, she was very recent, but Ed died a while back.
Maybe 2006, I believe, if I'm not mistaken.
Really? So yeah, they've got a long list of things that they've like I said, if these two actors want to keep portraying these characters, or even if they get a new set, I would hate to see a new set. Because these two actors have been really awesome at this. But they've got so many stories to tell. Yeah, you're 2006, and she died 2019.
Yeah. So yeah, they were around for a while.
And from my understanding, that their artifact room is now a museum for people to go through.
Yeah, like public museum. It's like an entry.
It's paid, I think. It's not so much public. I think you have to have like a reservation.
Uh-huh.
It's not like you can just show up to the house and be like, hey, I'm here. Let me check out your artifact room.
Right.
I think the house itself and that room particularly, they've turned it into almost a shrine to them, but also allows the people to come through. My question is, not seeing any videos or being there myself is, I hope they encased everything like behind glass or something like that, so
Yeah.
people don't fucking touch shit, or have some of that bad juju rub off on them and
Right,
sent
right.
home.
No, if I'm not mistaken, there's supposed to be a priest that comes in and blesses the place every so often or whatever.
Yeah, I read that too. That they had when they were alive. That's what they were having done. So I would hope that they're also still doing that.
Yeah.
Maybe their daughter's still alive, Judy.
Yes.
And maybe she's running the whole shindig under their estate, but I don't know those details of them personally. But that's just what I heard, that their house is now like a museum for people to actually go and check out.
Yeah. Yeah, certainly the movies have made it an extra popular, probably even tourist attraction, right? Sort
Yeah.
of the way you would visit the stairs from The Exorcist in Washington.
And same thing too with like a lot of those YouTube ghost hunter channels. I'm sure there's a lot of people that that's where I've seen it, and that's where I got some of the information was just reading the excerpts of what the episode was going to be called. But I think some of them have been wanting to try and like do the whole like stay of the night in the artifact room, but from what my understanding is like it's a tiny room, so it's like enough walk space for you to walk around like the shelves and stuff like that.
Yeah,
So
just
I don't know
the
where,
basement, no?
yeah, it's just their basement. So I don't know where they would set up, without moving shit
Yeah.
to sleep. So they would have to like sleep in the house. But at that point, you want to make sure that the door's closed and locked.
Yeah, the worst part would be having to sleep on the floor or something like that.
Right.
Yeah, so you wanna move on to the movies, and because I have a list of the demons, the recurring demons from the franchise.
Yeah.
We mentioned Valak. We mentioned the Crooked Man, which I think, if I understood the movie correctly, the Crooked Man was a manifestation of Valak, right?
Yeah, I mean it was because of where so the Crooked Man is like an English folktale, to like for kids to sing and have some rhymes and I don't know if it was like to scare them or anything like that, but it was like one of those nursery rhymes that English are weird.
Yeah.
So some of their shit, to Americans it's scary, but to them it was just like, oh, it's just the Crooked Man, and it's like no big deal. So all the children are just singing this rhyme about him. But yeah, I think it was Valak basically taking something that was of their culture and bringing it to life to scare them.
Yeah. Okay.
So in a way, yes, to answer your question, but kind of in a weird way.
Yeah. No. Yeah, I understand.
But yeah, let's talk about the demons through the movies.
Yeah, there's demons, there's witches, and the thing I really liked about those Conjuring movies, especially Conjuring 1 and Conjuring 2, I discovered the difference, I guess, because I'm not such a fan of like these ghost stories, and like the Paranormal Activity franchise is one of the ones that I'm not. I watch them, but they're not my favorite. But I really learned the difference between the Conjuring 1 is basically a bewitched house, right? Which is not the same to say as a haunted house with ghosts in it. And so that was kind of like the difference between the two hauntings of these two houses. The Amityville is more like an evil presence brought in from a very terrible traumatic event, right? The murders.
Wasn't there like the Conjuring also like a curse? Like the witch has a curse?
Yeah, exactly. The conjuring, evil beings, conjuring them into this world, I guess. So, yeah, exactly. In the first one, we meet Bathsheba Sherman, who was a witch, who curses the place. She gives birth to her son, and then offers this kid's soul to Satan. So that's the Conjuring. And then she kills herself and curses basically the farm.
What a bad mom.
Yeah.
Jesus.
And so Bathsheba Sherman is the one haunting or bewitching this house.
Okay.
You also have in the second one, obviously, Valak, who appears pretty much in the entire movie. If you look at the backgrounds, this is why this movie was my favorite. There was such attention to detail. You see Valak, the name, spelled out in different places around the house, in the kitchen.
I didn't. Normally, I find shit like that.
Yeah,
and I didn't see that. The only time I know that, obvious, it was so obvious because the way she wrote it in the Bible.
Yeah, that was one of the ones.
I never saw it anywhere else, so I'm gonna have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah,
that.
rewatch
That's
it.
A cool little Easter egg.
Look at the when she's doing that thing with the Bible. Look at the bookshelves, and you'll see some letters, and Valak spelled out in those letters.
That's cool.
In another
I like when movies do that.
Yeah. In another scene, you see it. Judy is making some bracelets, and one of the bracelets, it's spelled out. It's backwards or upside down. I mean, so you can't really read it unless you read it upside down.
Yeah, if you're not really paying attention to it.
Yeah,
like
it's just
that,
laying there.
In depth to, I could see how you'd miss that. Yeah.
And then, my favorite one was when they're at a pub in England. One of the coasters says Valak Bitter. and I looked online to see if you could buy those somewhere because I wanted one, but no luck.
Well, you think it was something that was made for the movie, or is it possibly a real drink?
No, I think they just made it for the movie. Yeah. It has to be a prop.
Yeah, that'd be cool if it was a real drink.
Yeah, so you see that the Valak name, and I really like the fact that Valak always uses like a lesser sort of spirit or entity, and in this case is the ghost of Bill Wilkins. So it's a haunted house by a ghost, but come to find out it was being manipulated by a greater demon, Valak.
Yeah, so you had to basically use a patsy.
Yeah. And then another very prominent demon is the Annabelle doll being possessed by an entity called Malthus, which is also a lesser demon, lesser than Valak, but obviously more powerful than, let's say, Bill Wilkins or Bathsheba, or even Isla Kastner. We'll talk about her as well, the two witches.
Yeah, but Bill Wilkins is just like to me, he seemed like he was just a trapped soul.
Yeah.
In between the worlds. And so he was, he was stuck in that house because he died in that chair. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen it. And so he was basically like, attached to that house.
Right.
Yeah, he couldn't go up, couldn't go down. So with him being there, I mean, obviously that's why Valak chose him, because, it was, oh, cool, I have somebody to, do my bidding and, do my evil stuff.
Very, very easily manipulated. Also because of his anger, right? From what I gathered from the movie, was he was just angry that his family just left him, and he just died alone and sick. And they also sort of make mention that maybe he was kind of a mean guy while he was alive, and that's why his family just told him to fuck off, basically.
That's what it sounds like. They're like, fuck this guy. Fuck you, Grandpa.
Yeah, so Bill Wilkins, Bathsheba, Isla Kastner, Malthus, and Valak would be, I think, the more prominent antagonists of the series.
Yeah. But not even like Isla, like, because she's only in the one movie. You know,
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you got Valak. He's and same with Bill Wilkins. He's only in the one movie. So you got Valak. You know, across all the movies. Alphys is in all the Annabelle movies.
Yeah.
So those to me would be the two main.
Yeah. Absolutely.
The two main demons.
Yeah. The more powerful ones too.
Yeah, because everybody else just was like a one-off to each of the films.
Yeah, and it wasn't clear to me if Valak is present in the first movie with Bathsheba, or she was just doing all of this just by herself, or who was the demon that she was trying to conjure? Was it Valak or just the devil himself?
I mean, if she's a witch, mostly in like witch lore, witches are messengers of the devil.
Right.
So I don't see her doing that to conjure Valak or another demon. You know, they're basically just like the movie The Witch. You know, they sign the devil's book. You know, to become the daughter of the devil. You know,
right.
and the minion of the devil, or you know, whatever else you want to call it.
Being in covenant with the devil.
Yeah. So I just don't see how Valak would be. Tied in to that, because there's no mention anywhere about that, and I don't remember seeing it in the movie. Not that they couldn't say it later, you know, like, oh, there was this one spot that you know, this had, you know, something to do with Valak, and if you missed it, you know, it's go back and watch it again. But yeah, I think all of her doing was for the devil, because she was a witch.
Okay, so we first meet Valak in the second movie, then, the second Conjuring. I mean.
Yes, is that right? Yeah, because Annabelle's the next movie after The Conjuring. And if we were to watch them in chronological order, we would have met Valak first in The Nun.
Right.
So in the orders of release, of theatrical release, then yes, Conjuring 2 is the first time that we would meet Valak.
Yeah, that happens with the Duke of Santa Carta, which is the Abbey of Santa Carta. He's the one that builds it and does the conjuring for Valak, which I believe Valak is one of those demons that is able to offer riches and knowledge and power, and that is one of the things that attracted the Duke to conjure this demon. And so he opens the portal to hell, which then the Crusaders, some soldiers of the church, find out, and then they murder him and close the portal to hell with using the blood of Christ is what happens in the first Nun movie.
Man, fucking times back in the day were brutal.
Yeah.
They didn't like you, they fucking murdered you.
Real bloody.
Same thing too, like with the way fucking religion worked. Like if you didn't believe their religion, like they were killing you if you didn't convert.
Yeah, I think that's one of the themes of even the second Nun movie. We find Lucy of Syracuse, who was executed by pagans, basically for being Christian, and she's the one that becomes a martyr, and her eyes become the relic that we see in the second movie, the second Nun movie.
Yeah. The good old eyes of Lucy. So talk about, so we talked about all the demons, and then now we're down to the devil made me do it, Elsa.
Yeah, that one is the witch Isla Kastner.
Or Isla, not Elsa.
Yeah, it's Isla.
Isla.
Yeah, this one, I had a little trouble following this one. She's basically just a witch who is conjuring another demon that is, I think unnamed, or either is a demon that is unnamed, or is just the devil himself. It was kind of unclear.
I think
To
I
me.
think it would have to be the devil since it's in the title. The devil made me do it.
Yeah.
And she's a witch. So, again, another movie that has no connection to Valak. So, obviously, if he wasn't the demon and they didn't pick any other demon, it would have to be, the devil himself.
Right.
Again, like I said, with being a witch, going back to that witch theme, that's their main thing is that they would profess everything to the devil before they would, choose a demon.
Oh, okay.
'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean, if they're going to have a demon in their life, I think it would be like a warlock, just another witch for them to fall back on or like be part of their coven. I just don't see them doing anything for lesser, than the devil itself, because they find themselves to be the right hand of the devil, doing his bidding. So that would in turn make them the demon, but they're a witch.
Right. Yeah. So
At least that's my understanding of how the witch shit works.
I see. Yeah. So Isla Kasner is basically was the daughter of a priest who was in charge of like a place where they keep a bunch of artifacts, also that belonging to the church's findings, and a bunch of stuff that's just in the occultism books and other artifacts, and she just becomes obsessed with them and just becomes very interested in Satanism and these dark things, and later becomes a witch, and that's what she's trying to do, summon demons and
And actually,
offer souls, things like that.
just probably to retract on that, thinking about it now, like the end scene where Ed comes in and takes the sledgehammer to the table, breaks it in half.
Breaks the totem, yeah.
Yeah, and then she's like stuck there, and he basically says that you summoned a demon, to take a soul, and you have no soul to give
Right.
it. So, and she's like getting contorted. So he's basically there to take her soul. So that is the question: is it actually a demon that she summoned, or is it the devil himself?
Yeah.
But they don't make a reference to it being a devil. They do reference it as a demon. So I have to take that back on. It probably was a demon that she did, but
Yeah.
a demon by no name, because they don't mention any name about some demon.
Yeah, because she fails in bringing I think it's 5 souls that she had offered at first, and she succeeds in 2, but then fails. So then the demon takes her soul in exchange for her failure, basically. So she gets dragged into hell
Yeah.
at the end.
But I still stand behind my statements with the witches.
Yeah.
But yeah, thinking on that now, like because I just had recently watched it. That yeah, it was. If it wasn't the devil, then it was whatever demon that she tried to summon. But I would think with the demon that they would have given it a name or had a little more, introduction to what demon it was and why she was doing it. So that's why I just assumed it was the devil. But they called it a demon. It could have been the devil. Maybe there was just a miscommunication on their parts, or they just didn't want to admit that it was the devil.
Right.
They obviously knew that it wasn't there for them, so, and it took her. So is that all the evil?
Yeah, those are all the there's
the big
you know,
baddies.
those are the big baddies. There's also like some lesser ones, and we see some of the artifacts like the samurai armor, the wedding dress, the ferryman.
And that was mentioned in some of the spin-offs, like they were talking about doing one about the samurai, one about the bride.
Yeah. In fact, the comic books mentioning The Devil Made Me Do It, those came out in anticipation for the release of The Devil Made Me Do It. And so it works as a direct prequel, and it's called The Lover, The Conjuring, The Lover, and it's the story of those 2 girls in The Devil Made Me Do It, where Lorraine has a vision in the part where they're trying to find out what these totems mean, who's been doing these conjurings, and she gets this vision of a girl that kills another girl and then jumps off a cliff after realizing what she's done. And then the comic books is basically that story, the story of those two girls, and it's two girls who are in love with each other, but the witch is messing with them and torturing them. One of them specifically, the one named Jessica, and she's the one that makes her kill her friend or her girlfriend, and that's how she acquires the first two souls.
Mm.
And that's just the story in the comic books. But then the comic books have these backstories that are pretty much they're called Tales from the Artifact Room, and it's these artifacts that we're talking about. The first one is The Ferryman, written by Scott Snyder, whom we know from comic books like American Vampire. He did Batman for a while. He does a lot of horror stuff. Then the second one is called The Bloody Bride. That's the one about the wedding dress. Then there's The Accordion Monkey by Tim Seeley. The Sleeping Song by Ray Fawkes. And The Chalice by Dominique Domo Stanton. Those are all very interesting, and I think if they were to expand on those and maybe some short films or like the things that you were mentioning, that would be great. I think the way they touched on them, like not very briefly, but the way they did it in Annabelle Comes Home, that one was pretty fun.
Yeah, I like how with comics they can expand a little more on these stories, because they have more liberties. They don't have to worry about like FX and
all the production,
all the production stuff, and how much it's going to cost, and how long it'll take. They basically whatever they can imagine and put it on paper. And then you get a illustrated story that you can just get lost in, and it's great that they can continue that, obviously in books and comics, but for the Conjuring universe, they're doing it through the comics, through the DC horror.
Yeah, my favorite one was the monkey. That one is crazy, and it gets bloody.
Really?
Yeah, check that one out. But yeah, Annabelle Comes Home. It's another one where I was surprised. I didn't think I was gonna like it.
Yeah, I was on the fence about it at first, but when I finished it, I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
Like, I was just like, this kind of seems lame, I don't think it's going to work. And then watching it and then finishing it, I was just like, oh, wow, that was awesome.
Yeah, especially because if you watch them in the timeline, Annabelle Creation is first, and that one's a really good one. That one's a good entry, I think. Annabelle, the first movie, for some reason, I did not really care for.
Yeah, and I'm the same way. I just think Annabelle, for it being the first movie and being put out there, maybe like when it first released, it was, something that everybody was just like, oh, this is cool. But I think after the next movies that came after, just topped it.
Yeah, they really amped it up.
Especially being a prequel, being the second movie, and then the sequel to the first movie.
It's just sort of a tie-in, really. I mean, it's kind of, I would say, without trying to offend, it's kind of inconsequential, but kind of a really fun romp is how I would put it.
Yeah. So and then next would be the Nun series, which they only have the 2 movies, and like you touched on earlier, would be great if they brought a third one, because the real story of Valak in these is so strong, just being the main villain. You get basically, it's like all Valak all the time.
Yeah.
Opposed to like the 2, or he's using a puppet or a patsy to do his bidding, and kind of like he's like here and there in some of the other features, but and then Vera's sister, is in this. So
Right.
it's like a family affair.
Thaisa Farmiga? How would you pronounce
Fuck.
It's Italian, isn't it?
I'm so horrible at names.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
I'm the wrong person to ask.
Same here.
I'm like, hi, let me butcher your name. I'm so sorry.
But yeah, it makes a lot of sense because it seems to me that there might be some connection between Lorraine and Sister Irene as well. We don't get last name for Sister Irene, do we? That's one of the things that
Not that I can recall. There might be, but I don't think, at least in the credits, they don't say anything about it or say her name fully.
Yeah. In the second movie, they kind of make it apparent that they might be related or somehow connected because they both have this clairvoyance thing, and then the whole connection with Saint Lucy and the eyes of Saint Lucy and all of this thing.
Yeah, and I thought you mentioned something about that a while ago too when we were talking about doing this podcast. Is that they did have that connection with Lucy, with Saint Lucy.
Yeah, they're somehow descendants or some sort of connection.
And
maybe
that's- yeah,
only
and
spiritual even.
Yeah, and that's why Valak is like,
Really intent on hurting them. Yeah.
yeah. So that would make a lot of sense.
Correct, but it's still the ball's still in the air. I feel like the second Nun movie, I was expecting a little bit more explanation, which those theories do come from that, but they still leave the ball in the air at the end, so that was a little bit frustrating. But
Yeah, like in my rankings, it's obviously it's the first, not obviously because you don't know, but
we'll talk about the rankings at a certain point. Yeah,
but when I did the Nuns, I did the Nun first, and then I did the second one because although I liked the Nun part 2 a lot,
Yeah.
I found the ending very lackluster.
very. Yeah,
I wanted more, and it didn't give me that. It didn't give me that feeling like this could be it, or there could be a cliffhanger. There was one scene where she gave a look, but I mean you would really have to like read into that.
yeah. Also, I mean, we still see the video of Frenchie being exorcised, right? So we still know that he's still possessed because he has to be exorcised later in the 70s.
Yeah,
So-
and so that's where I was going to bring up the future movie Last Rites for the Conjuring 4. Is he going to be part of that? Because
Yeah, I hope
they're
so,
giving
'cause-
us all these little snippets of him, and then the exercising of him. When do we actually get to see that?
Yeah, and it's like you said that time when we were talking about it. Is this movie, the Last Rites movie, is it going to be like a convergence between the Nun and the Conjuring movie?
Yeah, are they gonna bring Sister Irene into it,
Right.
And then have that meeting of the two?
Yeah, or is it going to be a Nun 3? Which, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
How are they going to do it, right?
Yeah,
We'll see.
From what I've read, the Last Rites is supposedly supposed to be the last movie of the series.
Okay.
But you know how Hollywood is.
Yeah, yeah.
They say this is the last movie, but
They'll milk that cow again.
yeah,
at
they'll
some
be like,
point.
well, it made a lot of money, and we can put another one out.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I mean, if it's the last movie of The Conjuring, that's probably fine because they're supposedly doing a fourth Annabelle,
Right.
and me and you are fingers crossed, wishing and hoping that they do the Nun 3.
Yeah,
Give
yeah,
us a little better closure, with that storyline, because I don't think that's the word I was looking for. Is closure. I don't think I got that with the Nun 2.
No, absolutely not. And I think as there's a lot of people disparage the Nun movies. I've seen a lot of rankings from other people, and they really put the Nun movies way down there. And for me, I'm like, I really like them. And
Yeah,
but
they're way high for me.
yeah, for me too. I think it's either the comic book nerd in me, or maybe the gamer nerd in me, because they feel like both movies have these like build up, and then you get to the next stage where they have to find some sort of artifact that the demon is like an arms race between the demon and Sister Irene to acquire the powerful artifact, and then it's about who uses the artifact against whom, and then it's it's just like this bombastic and it's like a final boss battle like in a video game, you know. So that's why I love these
See, to me,
movies.
it's. I was going to touch on that too. Like I was going to use that analogy, but I don't see it as a boss battle. I'm not even there yet with the Nun 2.
Okay.
Like to me,
Interesting.
you know, like how Mario has those side quests, like
Okay.
on certain Mario games.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like. It feels like at the end of the Nun 2, it moved into a side quest.
Okay.
Like, in you have to run this gauntlet before you can get back onto the main thing, and onto the main track, getting to that final level.
Okay.
Because I don't even think we're at the final level yet. I think we're almost there, or we could almost be there, but I think it took a trip down, some side quest, and
Right.
so now we're gonna run that gauntlet and then come back to our road, leading to the final boss.
Okay. So to add to
That's
that,
how I feel. That's how it felt to me.
Yeah. And in line with that, I feel like then now hearing you say that, I feel like the Conjuring 2 is kind of like the first side mission to the whole Valak saga, I guess.
Yeah. So yeah, if introducing him, if he's not the main boss, say the devil is the main boss, Valak is that one underneath him. That's his general.
Yeah.
And he's basically doing everything that he can to put these people in check, and and then they're fighting him, every step of the way. So that's how I look at it.
Yeah, correct. Because a lot of the complaints that I heard about the Nun 2 is that it's basically just a carbon print of the Nun 1, and they really do have the same structure, I guess, where it's Valak is Sister Irene, it's the ancient artifact that they have to find, and then the final battle at the end, and they always use the blood of Christ. So in the first one, it was the little artifact with the blood of Christ, and then in the second one, they pray and they turn the wine into the blood of Christ, and they talk about it. That because Sister.
But that's always a recurring theme with anything in like religious movies.
Right.
And these are not so much obviously religious movies because they're horror movies, but they have the religious overtones.
Correct, because we're talking about demons and the devil and things like that,
Yeah.
which are Judeo-Christian beliefs.
Yeah, so to me, it's whether people think it's the same story or same cookie cutter, outline, whatever. There's differences in each of those movies, and that's what makes them unique to each other.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like I said, at the very end of the Nun 2, it just seems like it just stopped.
Yeah.
Even though like they overcame the evil and we're gonna move on to the next day and everything was gonna be peaches and cream. To me, it didn't feel like that. It just felt like there was still something missing. Like I was waiting for like one last jump scare that never happened.
Yeah.
And I'm still waiting for it. Like when's it gonna happen?
Yeah, and they do establish some characters, right? Like the little girl, the daughter of the love interest for Frenchie. They put her through the ringer, and she's another one of the girls. Like,
but that seems to be That seems to be a good formula that the Conjuring universe is doing. Is
They
they get kids and then they just fucking
they mess with them.
Yeah.
They scare them.
And these fucking kids are gonna need therapy for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
If they don't come out well adjusted. These kids are just gonna be fucked up.
Absolutely. So like, I wouldn't be surprised if we see that little girl again in either the Conjuring 4 or the Nun 3 or whatever. If they continue,
Yeah.
because it's always the young ones that have to inherit the curses of the parents or the ancestors or whatever these demons have been doing to people for generations, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
But yeah, that was the Nuns, the Nun 1 and 2.
Have you heard any more about what's going on with Bonnie, the actress who actually portrays the nun? Remember we talked about her.
In a past podcast, last thing we found out was that she was suing actually Warner for more money because of all of the nun merchandise that is being produced and sold, and she just sort of wants a bigger piece of those earnings, especially because these movies were very they were blockbusters, really. They were very I'm not gonna say cheap to make, but the amount of money that the profit that it made compared to what they spent making these movies, it was the ratio was astronomical almost.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't heard anything else other than just she's taking him to court, and nothing has come of it. I don't know if maybe because of the actor strike that's happening.
Yeah. I think she started this last year, so it's been at least a year since she began doing this. But I imagine she will be back. I mean, even after the strikes and everything else, I think I would be surprised if she was to be recast. I mean, she's got a strong case because basically the look of the nun is her look, is her face. So
yeah, she has a pretty unique look, and
like how would you recast her?
I mean, they would have to do a mask, and obviously we've seen movies where they do masks and they're not that great.
No, even with CGI and deep fakes and things like this. But still, even then, that was the whole thing about the strike, right? Like the whole AI thing. And
yeah, so that's why I don't see
the
them doing
rights and things like that. So yeah.
So
it complicates things a lot.
I see them giving in and paying her just earnings, and
because why not?
Yeah, and then obviously she would be back for a third. Hopefully, be back for the third nun if they make it.
Yeah, I would imagine that's what's in the future.
Yeah, because the only other way I could see is them doing that mask, and then, or like you said with the AI, but that's what they're trying to get away from, and that's what they're striking for.
Yeah, that was the whole thing.
Or at least one of the reasons why they're striking.
Mm-hmm.
So, but good luck to her. Hopefully, it works out for her and works out for us, and we can get a third movie.
Exactly. I was gonna say, selfishly, hopefully we get another entry on the Nun. Because I really like those movies. I like them. I know a lot of people did not, especially the second one. But the only thing that I didn't like about, I was disappointed about the movie is Father Burke. Just they just tell you that he died of cholera, and you're like, wait a minute, he was one of my favorite characters.
Yeah. It was kind of that was like a lackluster, like, oh, we couldn't get that actor, so he died of cholera.
Yeah.
What's happening during that timeline of the world? Oh yeah, cholera was a big outbreak, so we'll say he died of that.
Right. That's a shame because Demian Bichir is one of my favorite actors. He makes a really good priest. For some reason, he's got a priest face. I don't know.
Yeah, and they brought who was the second actress that was what happened? Your mic's still on. Your headphones are off. Maybe you have to switch the other ones. I thought those were fully charged.
Turned off all of a sudden.
Yeah, I need to get a new battery for those. I have Gustavo soldered that on. That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
So, what was I saying?
A little technical difficulty here. Stand by.
You hear yourself now? No?
A little bit. Can I turn the volume up on these, or?
No, those are like standards.
Oh. Okay.
The mic's all the way up on this.
Okay. Maybe if I go up a bit. Yeah, that's good. That's good.
Oh wow, you're super loud.
Oh no, really? Okay,
Yeah.
I'll go back down.
Or at least move the mic back further.
Like this? Is that good?
Yeah, it's about the same what you were.
Okay, cool. I'm back.
All right. Which I forgot what I was saying.
I said.
Oh yeah, who was the secondary nun that they brought in with Sister Irene? So they basically replaced the priest with her.
Right.
And I don't know if I don't want to say she was comic relief, but she really didn't do much.
It was a little bit funny every time that one devil or demon, the one that looks like a ram, would chase them and say, that made me laugh. I will admit those times where he would chase the girls. It got a couple of chuckles out of me.
Yeah, but I think that's the whole thing is like they couldn't get him, so they brought her in. That's the only reason why I think personally that she was in the movie is because they really didn't need to have her in it if they just completely eliminated the priest and she was going to be doing her duties, but it was only a couple years after she took her vows to become a nun.
Right. Yeah, I guess she needed like another sidekick or something for the story to work. Sister Deborah,
yeah.
Played by Storm Reed.
Okay. Yeah, and she was basically like really, I'm not sure why she was even in the convent because she seemed like she was a non-believer. And it wasn't until like the shit that started hitting the fan where she became a believer.
Yeah, she saw a miracle and the whole thing. It was yeah, they discussed that. It's about belief and you have to believe because she says they have a discussion where she says how does it even make it holy water or the blood of Christ? Like it's just a guy comes in and just says a bunch of words and that's it. It's holy and Sister Irene is like, well, yeah, you have to believe it. It's the blood of Christ because we believe it's the blood of Christ. Okay.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do at a communion, or
Right.
like when you're at mass, and they bring you up to drink the blood of Christ and eat the body of Christ.
Yeah.
They're giving you a sip of wine and you're taking the cracker and it's your faith and your beliefs.
Right.
Again, I'm not religious and I've only been around the block, so I know like these little things. So it's all like you said, it's all in the beliefs.
Yes, same here. I'm godless, but I did grow up in a Catholic household, and yeah, the whole thing was like, so the blood of Christ tastes like Chardonnay. Okay.
That's funny. So yeah, those are the Nun movies. And we talked about like the tie-ins. So we haven't had a chance to watch that movie Wolves at the Door, but we did watch The Curse of La Llorona.
Yeah, that was another one that even James Wan and a lot of producers have deemed not canon, but you do see Father Perez, I believe, with holding the Annabelle doll, and the protagonist seeks help from him before going to the curandero, and I think in the movie it is Father Perez that explains to her the whole legend of La Llorona, right?
Yeah. He tells the story of the weeping woman and how she drowned her children because of the love that she had married was in the arms of a younger woman. So to cast revenge, she took away what was most priceless to him, which were his children.
Right.
And then when she realized after she had murdered them by drowning them in the river, that she had thrown herself into the same river. And then there was this tree that basically, which is weird, witnessed the entire thing. So it was part of the curse. But essentially it was like a relic, like anything used from the tree, whether it's the seeds or the wood, would be like a defense against her, which is kind of weird, but but I understand it.
Right. In the end, the way they finish it is La Llorona gets stabbed by a crucifix, right? And that's that's how the curse is.
Yeah, cut from the tree.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Because he uses, similar to like in like ghost hunting and stuff like that, where they use the salt and then they put it in the doorways and the windows that keeps the ghosts or demons, not demons, demons and ghosts from either breaking that barrier, coming in or going out. He does the same thing. He uses the seeds from the tree and puts them all through all the barriers that she could come in through. And then he happens to have a like a carved out crucifix, really like detailed cross made from the wood from that tree. Okay. And tells Anna, who's played by Linda Cardellini, tells her that this is going to be your defense, and she's a very non-believer in this movie. Obviously not till about the end, where she starts to believe. And but I just actually recently watched it, and I went in with very strong, like, oh, you're not gonna like this movie. It's not gonna be good.
A lot of people don't like that movie, including myself.
But when I watched it, I actually liked it a lot. I mean, they do have like with the whole thing with the entry doors, and like they're really good at creating tension with that, and because you don't want anything to happen to the kids, and they do a good job at helping you care for these characters. But I mean, I'll talk about it more when we do the ranking. But yeah. So the movie basically is so Anna, played by Linda Cardellini, is like a caseworker, and she goes to this house where supposed abuse on the children is happening, and they are being plagued by La Llorona, but she's obviously, like I said, she's not a believer, so she doesn't really believe in any of that, and just sees that the children are locked in a closet, and then also they have marks on them. So her first instinct is the mother's abusing you, so I'm gonna...
Especially because the kids say she's gonna hurt us, and so she thinks they're talking about
the mom.
The mom, Patricia.
Yeah, and then she gets the door open, and gets it open and sees the boys sitting there. Like the first thing the boys say is, "Close the door."
Yeah.
Because they're that scared, and she's, in her mind, she's thinking, "Oh, your mom's gonna hurt you more," but they're not talking about the mom at all.
Exactly.
And that's where the story starts, and then the movie goes on, and the boys end up at a foster place, in the time of where they're either going to go back to the mom or they're going to get like a new living situation, but they get, I don't know if they get killed or they get captured.
Yeah, taken is what they say. Taken by La Llorona, which is the bedtime story that every Mexican or Latin American kid hears, akin to the boogeyman.
Yeah. So so the mom, in her grief, starts praying to La Llorona to take Anna's kids from her, knowing that that would be the revenge
in
exchange for her kids to come back.
Yeah.
So give me my kids back. You can take her kids, and so that's where Llorona basically deviates from Patricia and her family.
Attaches herself to
attaches herself to Anna's family.
Right.
And then now she's all this shit's happening with them, and then the tables are turned on her now. The caseworker's coming over to her house and asking the kids, "Oh, what happened to you? Why do you have these marks on you?" And she's working with a detective throughout all these cases that she was doing, and same detective, he's like kind of on the fence whether he believes if she's actually hurting her kids or not hurting her kids. So that's basically like the movie, and then she enlists the help of she goes to the priest because she sees some shit, and
Father Perez.
So she's like, what the fuck? And then that's where he explains to her who this woman is and why she's doing what she does, and then she like gets some kind of I don't know where she meets. Is his name Raphael?
Yeah, Rafael Olvera, played by Raymond Cruz.
Yeah, so I don't know where she actually got a hold of him at. I missed that part.
Yeah, I kind of forget. He's supposed to be like some sort of curandero, which is like a sort of like like a holy man of sorts who knows about spirits and things like that without being attached to the church. But he's
Probably
supposed to know.
Probably similar to like Dean and Sam Winchester from the Supernatural series.
Okay, yeah.
They're like whether they're hunters, but they're not attached to the church, but they still do like religious, things like exorcisms and they do all the demon wardings, and they do
Correct.
the what do they call it, where they lay down the salt and stuff.
Yeah, the rites,
the barriers.
They have the knowledge to do the rituals and things like that.
They do all the rituals. So she gets in contact with him, and then he basically is there with them to help her fight off La Llorona throughout the rest of the movie. And like you said at the end, he gets away to get the crucifix because he's hurt from her and he's a ways away from her, and he just happens to have the crucifix with him in his area, and he kicks it over to her, and then like in her fit of rage, like she stabs La Llorona.
Yeah.
And then it just like completely like just dissipates her.
Yeah, and Raphael is like sort of like the comedic relief in this one, right? He's like, "Oh, nice trick," and then he's like,
yeah. That was probably like the coolest part of the movie, like, because like he's super serious and very like the straight man like in this, but not trying to be like comedic in that aspect, and he's like trying to tell her about the rituals and stuff that he does, and he's using the eggs and the what was it called?
Like a cleansing or something like that.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. There's the Limpia.
Right, Olympia.
Yeah. I used to watch those on YouTube. That shit was fucking like so intriguing.
Yeah.
So yeah, he was doing that, and he did it with the egg, and then like he cracks the egg, and it's like all like bloody or like black, like goo, and she's like, "Oh, I've seen this on Carson," and then the other 3 eggs that are on the table like start to spin, and then they're like standing up straight.
Yeah.
And then like her daughter's like, "They do that on Carson," and then he looks at her, and he's all, "Ta-da!"
Yeah.
Oh no, because they explode. Like after they stop spinning, they're standing up straight, and all of a sudden they just explode, and like you see the goo and shit like fucking hit her in the face, and that's where he was like, "Ta-da!"
Yeah. Nice trick, yeah.
And then the same thing too, like at the end of the movie when she stabs La Llorona, and then she like basically explodes all over the fucking attic. He throws that last one out there.
Last one, yeah.
So.
Yeah, well constructed movie. Had some interesting parts in it, but yeah, we'll talk about the ranking next.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I really liked, and I'm she's like one of my top girls. Like when you say, "Oh, who's your fantasy girls?" Like she's up in those rankings.
Oh yeah, Linda Cardellini.
Yeah. Yeah, she's always been that way. Like ever since I saw her from Freaks and Geeks.
Freaks and Geeks. She was also in Scooby-Doo, one of the Scooby-Doo movies.
Yeah. She was Velma in the Scooby-Doo movies.
Okay.
She was super young in Freaks and Geeks, but she had this look about her, and I was like, oh, she's cute.
Yeah.
And then when I saw her as Velma, I was like, oh, man, that's it.
Yeah.
It's over. She goes on the list. So, yeah, it's I mean, I think if there was any other actress, maybe the movie would be okay, but I think the story and stuff like that, I really liked the story. I liked how it was executed. The jump scares were really good for me.
Okay.
They weren't overdone. The scene where she's normal looking, where she's dressed as the bride, and she's like touching the boy, her son, or touching Anna's son, because he's holding her necklace. And then like he's slowly moving, inching back. But as he's inching back, he's on this sheet that's covering a mirror, and then he gets to a point where the sheet finally comes off the mirror, and then you see the demon of La Llorona, and then that's where she like transforms back. She went from normal looking to back to the demon. It seemed like she was like having this saving grace or something like that. Maybe she was like,
right.
Maybe she would have been like, oh, okay, maybe I see what I did wrong and leave. But I think as soon as she saw her reflection, she like flipped out, and saw what kind of monster she was. I thought that was really well executed, like that type of writing where they had put that in there.
Okay. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, so she's more like rather than a demon or an evil entity, she's just sort of like a hurt soul that's...
Yeah, and she sees like her wrongdoings. And then like when the mirror like exposes who she really is, and then she just, like I said, she just loses control.
Yeah.
So
interesting.
Yeah, and then I find it also, I like knowing different lore. This is not American lore. Like you said, this is like Latin American lore. A lot of Hispanics and stuff grew up with these type of tales. As for like these white kids and stuff like that, never heard about this until this movie came out.
Right.
So we know nothing about that. I have a lot of Hispanic friends that will explain things to me as stuff that they were growing up. Like chupacabra and all those like things. And if you're just like very isolated, and you only have like white friends, and you would never know anything about this. But I like being cultured. I like being educated on all these different like lores and things like that. I think it just helps me, especially being into horror and stuff like that, knowing other cultures, ancestry, everything from like the Orient has a lot of like different lore and stuff, like what's going on with their culture.
The Japanese culture has a lot of really cool demons and spirits and stuff like that.
Like a lot of cool stuff, like with their samurais and things like that.
Yeah.
And then like you have in the Latin world, you have the La Llorona, and you have the chupacabra, and I'm sure there's way other things that are just crazy.
Yeah. Even like just like Mayan entities. The Aztecs had an underworld that also has like a lot of really dark beings.
And then this is all shit that is told from generation to generation. Like these people tell their children about it. Not so much like in tales to scare them, but in tales to educate them. Let them know like this is part of our culture. This is our ancestry. And
it gets passed on. We were just talking with Luis, another coworker, and he was telling us that. Oh yeah, my grandma used to say, "Hey, if you don't go to sleep, La Llorona's gonna come take you." And I was like, "Yeah, absolutely."
Yeah, growing up in white America, you don't hear shit like that. You don't hear like, "Oh, the boogeyman's gonna get you." That's really the main thing that you hear, but that's like usually like a bad parent just being a bad parent, saying, because most of the time you don't ever say that to your kids, because the last thing you want to do is scare the shit out of your kids.
Like there's nursery rhymes.
So like American kids are not gonna, they're not gonna know anything about this, as to where like everywhere else in the world, they have those type of lores that are instilled in them growing up. Especially like a lot of Europe too. A lot of Europe has like that's where like a lot of the what do they call the the Grimm fairy tales.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, so you have a lot of those fairy tales, and they're not telling us the Disney fairy tales, or they're not telling their children the Disney fairy tales, that everybody here grew up with. There it's the real deal, because like especially like most of it takes place in Germany, and so all their stories are very, very cruel and wicked and just. Yeah, it's super cool to learn new aspects and new things, new lores. I really liked it a lot. So
yeah, to me it was really creepy. A prayer that some of my religious friends would say before going to bed. The whole "if I die before I wake, pray the Lord my soul to take." Like that was always like, how can you go to sleep knowing that you might die on your sleep? I guess the comforting part of it is that the Lord will
I
take
guess
your soul.
I guess you have to take it like that, but to me it's like the Lord's gonna come take my soul. Like,
yeah,
I'm fucked.
Exactly. But yeah, it's those kinds of things that get passed down from generation to generation. So that's cool. That's interesting.
So yeah, the other thing would be talk about would be like the canceled Crooked Man movie, but there's nothing really to talk about because they canceled it. So there's no movie.
Yeah, that one would have been interesting for me, I think.
And that's another one, like I said, in like non-American lore.
Right,
It's
UK, right?
Yeah. This is in the UK, so this is like a fairy tale thing that they teach their kids, and it's like a nursery rhyme that they sing. So if you see The Conjuring 2, you'll know what we're talking about because they have like this little carousel that spins, and it's like it's almost like a like stop motion the way it looks, but it's not stop motion because it's like or not like stop motion. I'm using the wrong terminology. Sort of like flip book comic. You know, like when you do drawings and you keep moving the character, piece by piece, forward or backwards, and it looks like the person's either walking or dancing. So that's what this carousel is. As you're spinning it, you see the Crooked Man walking, or doing some kind of...
The image moves, yeah.
Yeah, the image moves. And then while they're spinning it, they're singing a nursery rhyme. So...
Oh, it's called zoetrope? Zeotrope? Something like that. Zoetrope. I think that's what it's called.
No, I never heard of that.
I believe that's what it's called.
That's cool.
Somebody will correct me in the comments, I think.
So yeah, but that would be the last thing that we would talk about, movie wise, would be that. But since they're not making that movie, like I said, there's nothing really to talk about. So it would have been a cool movie to see. Definitely a little more to explore on that lore. I might want to check it out myself, just to see what it's actually supposed to be and what it's really about. So maybe in a future podcast we'll have those answers. So
yeah, another one would be the TV series. I know nothing about it. All I know is they announced it, sort of.
So
it's supposed to be HBO or something.
Yeah. So in 2001, they announced that they wanted to do a TV series, and then it wasn't finalized until 2023. And they were talking about doing it as like 8 episodes, and where it would basically be with all 8 episodes together, it would be like its own 2-hour movie.
Okay.
But it has full continuity of the Conjuring universe, but this would take place after the chronological events of the films.
Oh.
So it looks like after Last Rites comes out.
That's when it would take place.
Yeah, that's when this television show would take place.
With Patrick and Vera back, or
that there is up in the air. They have not mentioned anything about them being in it, or who it actually is going to be in it, or what the premise of the TV show would be about. I would think
basically we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know
much.
We don't know much. I just know that they're doing it, and yeah, it's going to be on Warner Brothers Discovery Max, which I don't know why they keep changing their stupid names, but their new app is called Max.
Hard to keep up, but we know who we're talking about.
Yeah, so, but that's where it's going to be at, and then they haven't really announced when it's going to be. So I'm assuming that they're going to work on Last Rites. Once Last Rites drops, then the TV series will be in production, and then we should have more information about that.
Cool.
But I would think that they would have to have Ed and Lorraine in this TV series, especially if it has continuity, because they obviously have more cases after, The Devil Made Me Do It, because they're doing Last Rites, and then whatever that is, whatever cases that happened after that would be the premise of the TV show.
Yeah, plus HBO certainly has the funds to really make a good production out of it, right?
Yeah, and then they're doing. I'm sure that they're probably going to be like hour-long episodes and not like half-hour-long episodes.
Yeah, yeah.
Just wouldn't be worth it for me to, or not me, but it wouldn't be worth it for them to do 30-minute episodes. You know.
Yeah, yeah.
Just doesn't make sense. But yeah, so television show coming out. Not sure when, but as soon as we get more information, we'll let you guys know about it. And if you guys have any information on it, drop us some information in our comments. Let us know so that way we can let everybody else know. So I think that's it for the movies itself and the kind of the breakdown of the movies, the demons in the movies, and the tie-in media stuff from the shorts, the comics, the TV series that was announced. I guess we could touch base on this real quick. Tell them about the shorts.
Oh yeah. So back in 2017, when the Annabelle creation, yeah. So when Annabelle creation was about to come out, there was a little contest that they did. Warner, in conjunction with James Wan, started this little contest as a marketing campaign in anticipation for the prequel Annabelle creation. Asked filmmakers to craft their own horror shorts, and the contest was titled My Annabelle Creation. The rules were 2-minute shorts, creepy enough to exist in the Conjuverse. In the end, 5 winners were chosen, and from different parts of the world. One being The Nurse by Julian Terry. I'm going to assume that one was the U.S. entry. Then there's The Confession by Liam Banks from the UK.
Sorry, I'm not trying to cut in.
No, go ahead.
But so these shorts are all over the world?
Yeah, so they took one entry from different countries, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, because I saw one that says Colombia.
The Colombian entry was called Innocent Souls by Alejandro Lopez. Then we also have Blonde's Lullaby by Amanda Nilsson and Magda Lindblom from Sweden. And that one is based on Blonde is a Nordic entity. So that one sounds really interesting to me. I love Nordic stuff.
Oh yeah, me too. Being Nordic myself, so
nice. Yeah. Then I mentioned The Confession by Liam Banks from the UK, and then What's Wrong with Mom?
I love that title.
That's a cool title by Raúl Bribiesca from Mexico. This one sounds interesting because, admittedly, I did not have time to watch, even though they're only 2 minutes each. But I didn't have time to watch them all. They're on YouTube, so they're very accessible. This one sounds interesting because, from what I read online, basically the camera never moves. It's kind of like a theater, like going to the theater. It just the characters just come in and out of the camera. So the camera never moves. It's just one shot the entire time.
Like a set stage.
Yeah, and then you just see creepy things happening in the background while the characters are coming in. And the one thing that really made it one of the entry winners was that they actually mentioned the Warrens in this. And it would be kind of cool to see, like a full-length feature of some of these.
Yeah, that would be cool.
And see the Warrens come in and investigate each case, So that was cool, and the production for the Conjuverse made it so that these shorts are actually canon to the Conjuverse, so they're part of it.
Oh, that's super cool.
So yeah, I think these are worth if you're really into the Conjuverse, these are worth a look, and I'm personally going to watch them tonight when I get home.
Yeah, it looks like we got 8. I didn't have to count them. They're fucking numbers.
Yeah, there's a couple more because where you're able to find them is on the Warner channel. So they have other entries there besides the contest ones. They have another one called Anne, a horror short film, and then another one that's The Crooked Man.
Yeah,
which
I was just gonna.
looks like a cartoon, I think.
Yeah, it says it's animated, so this might actually answer my question about, like I said earlier, diving into more of the lore of the Crooked Man. So this might actually help me with that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm also dying to check these out. So that's probably what I'm gonna do tonight is watch these before I go to bed. 'Cause that's what I like to do is watch horror movies before I go to bed.
Exactly. That's the best time.
'Cause I ain't no scared punk bitch. All right, so that's it for the movies itself. So now we're down to our rankings.
Yeah, you want to do the ranking?
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right, you want to start? Or do you
Yeah.
want me to start?
I'll start.
All right.
My ranking of the Conjuring universe so far, seeing as there's going to be more movies coming.
Wait. Let me. I'm gonna mark your rankings so I know what they are compared to mine.
Okay, cool.
Okay, go for it.
So my first one is The Conjuring 2.
All right.
Looks like we matched on that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this one. This one was, like I said, I'm not a fan of ghost movies, but this one really, really made it. Made a believer out of me. This one was really well made.
And see, I think there's a difference between a ghost movie and a possession movie because that's what this seems like. It was like a part ghost, part possession. Because the girl, she gets possessed and then she gets released.
Right.
She gets possessed and then she gets released.
Yeah.
And then if you haven't seen the movie, you should see the movie. But the one scene or not the one scene, but the one part of it where she's not possessed, she has to fake being possessed, and then they're like,
Right.
"Oh, we caught you on camera, and you're faking it." And
Yeah, the whole thing with
and then her answer was that when they asked her about it, is like, he told me I needed to do this, or he would kill everybody.
Exactly. So yeah, she's another girl that gets put through the ringer as well. Like she goes through some crazy stuff, and it made her really scary for me. The way she was scared, I was scared.
Yeah, I really like this one a lot. This is also my number one. So.
All right, moving on. Number 2 for me was The First Nun.
Interesting.
I really like this one because it was actually filmed in Romania, so the ambience was really creepy, and like I just really like these like old ass castles and like just like the whole mood of like the old continent and everything like that.
Yeah, the old world and location shooting or location movies are just awesome because it's something different. You can't get that on a stage or in a fucking a set built.
Yeah. I think my favorite part of the movie was the thing that really made me it just made an impression of me is when Father Burke gets buried alive with the whole thing with the little
the
little bells and all these things.
Yeah, that was creepy as fuck.
And then Sister Irene uses her clairvoyance to find them, but then Valak starts fucking with her and starts ringing all the other bells, so she can't tell which one's the one where Father Burke is, and just seeing Father Burke inside there, it just made me so claustrophobic, and I was at the edge of my seat on that scene, and the whole thing.
I'm not claustrophobic, but that really made me fuck that.
Yeah.
And then all the shit that he was seeing and things that were happening, and he was just get me out of here.
Yeah. That was
he
that was
looked like he
insane.
was about to shit himself.
And like I said, Damian Bichir, he's one of my favorite actors, and he was great as Father Burke in this one. What's your number 2?
My number 2 is Annabelle Comes Home.
Okay, yeah.
Out of all the Annabelles, that was my favorite Annabelle. I I really enjoyed it. I was going into it not wanting to see if it was going to be any good or not, because it just was revolved around the kids. And that was just kind of like all kid out already with all these movies. And I'm like, more fucking kids, really?
Yeah.
What are they doing? But yeah, the whole story of that with the Annabelle doll and how they're actually at the Warrens' house was like super cool. And, like all the shit that was happening in the artifact room, and how she kept seeing like visions of her dad, and yeah, it was just all the little ambience of it was just great. I thought for an Annabelle movie, it was so much better than the first Annabelle.
Yeah.
And like I said, when the first Annabelle came out, it was probably like, you know, great for being the first movie coming out, but I personally think they got better with each movie afterwards.
Definitely did. My third is the first Conjuring, which, like I said, it was number one at first, but this rewatching it, especially because I on my rewatch I did on a chronological order, so it just put everything into context for me, and yeah, I had to reconfigure my ranking in this one, and what can I say about The Conjuring? Just a classic by now, just a super well made movie. It's got virtually no plot holes. The actors are all excellent. The guy who plays Roger, like, he just makes this face. He has these expressions where he's I kind of feel like he's scared pretty much all the time.
Yeah.
You know, and Lily Taylor is just a great actress. The kids do a really good job. The whole trope, which is a classic trope now of like the spirit pulling your leg in the middle of the night. That's one thing that would scare me too when I was a kid. Like that phrase of like, that classic phrase of like, oh, you're pulling my leg. I think that's where it comes from, doesn't it?
I don't know if that's true, but maybe it is. I don't know. We'll have to look into that. That's funny though.
But yeah, lots of good scares, and like I said, it marked the difference for me between a haunting and a haunted house, haunted by a ghost, like a ghost story, and then this was a witch story. So it was different in that way, and I really appreciated the nuances on each of the Conjuring, the two first Conjuring entries.
Yeah, it was my number 5. So I held so when I watch these, you call it a rewatch, and a lot of these, I also watched them in chronological order, but it was the first time for me seeing most of them, because I hadn't had that chance to see most of them. So a lot of them were first time watches.
Yeah. For me, the Annabelle were first time watches. Next would be number 4. Oh no, which one's number 3 for you?
My number 3 is The Nun. So
The Nun, the first Nun.
Yeah,
okay.
The first Nun, which was your number 2.
And my number 4 is Annabelle 2. Creation, which is Annabelle Creation. Yeah, like you said, it's just a really well-made movie. It's really you start to see the connectivity in this one with the rest of the Conjureverse.
Yeah, I like the whole lore of the story, because it's very believable that, you know, in a horror aspect that could happen. You know, that the spirit of the child is attached to the doll, or at least the entity that is possessing the doll, you know, takes the form of the child.
Yeah, I think you get to know Malthus a little better in this one than you do in the first one. I think perhaps that was the point of it, right?
Yeah.
And you actually get to see a cameo from the nun, Valak, in this one, in the picture where sister, I forget her name, but the sister,
with the girls.
Yeah. She has a picture, and then that one guy asked her, who's that other nun in the back? And she's like, oh, I don't remember her. Who could that be? And it's it's the nun, right? So,
yeah.
So that was cool.
Scary shit right there.
What's next?
Why'd I put it on there? You said Creation.
So next one, my number 5 is Annabelle 3. And I was sort of debating between, because spoiler alert, my number 6 is The Nun 2. They're both really, I couldn't really tell where to place them. I was switching back and forth between 5 and 6. And I just decided Annabelle 3, I just had more fun with it. It was kind of fun. It was just like a fun romp of like just these 3 kids running away from a bunch of spirits because they liberated them just by being stupid kids, right? I mean, it wasn't that stupid. Daniela had a good reason. She had like this backstory where she was feeling really guilty about the death of her father, and she really wanted to talk to him, and just bury the hatchet, as it was. And so it was a good vehicle to release all these entities around the house, and it was kind of a cool how it became the Warren house was a haunted house by all these entities at one point, and they all had to just sort of join forces to put them back in captivity, right?
Yeah.
So that was kind of cool. It was just like a cool horror movie for young people. The Nun 2 is just sort of without offending the creators of the movie, is just really middle of the road, kind of inconsequential, and they both kind of are sort of inconsequential, just sort of tie-ins to the universe. Not too. If you were to not watch these movies, you would still get the gist of the Conjureverse, but they're fun.
Yeah. Okay.
What's your number 5 and number 6?
What was your number 6?
The Nun 2.
Oh, that's number 6. So The Nun 2 falls as number 4 for me. And then number 5, like I said, was The Conjuring, the first one. And then my number 6 is the Annabelle Creation. So I hold The Nun 2 a little bit higher, just because, like I said, I liked both the Nun movies. I thought they were really well written, really well executed, except for the end of Nun 2.
Yeah.
That's where I just kind of feel like it's like a cliff, like this is season 2 of a series, and it left off on a cliffhanger for me.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. So I'm waiting for season 3 of this show to come back to pick up from that cliffhanger to see what happens, like we talked about earlier with Frenchie. Hopefully they pick up there, or maybe it's in, the last Rites movie for the 4th Conjuring. But that's where I feel with those. But I hold those higher than the rest of the movies.
Okay.
Just because I really liked the story. Again, like I said, I'm not religious, but I just like the whole aspect of that lore, and then with the way it ties in for horror, that you get something of evil and demonic, and then you get all this godliness, that is supposed to overcome. It's the whole like good versus evil, like how every basically horror movie I think is written. And then number 5, The Conjuring, which is basically the middle. I think in when I first saw it, it was the first one I saw out of the entire series. I thought it was great. It just was a really good movie. But as I start watching all the other movies in the universe, I think all the other movies started to be better for me. Especially like the second Conjuring. That was my number 1, and hands down. Well, I don't think will ever be replaced unless Last Rites will really have to like wow me.
Yeah, they would have to amp it up so much
for me to replace that, or even like the 4th Annabelle. So, but yeah, that's where that's at, and then like number 6 is Annabelle Creation. I liked, like I said, both the Annabelle, the prequel and the sequel, way better than the first Annabelle. Not really a big fan of the first Annabelle. It was okay for me.
Yeah.
It just wasn't what I thought it was going to be. I didn't get to see it when it first came out, but I've heard all the stuff about it, and everybody was like, Annabelle this and Annabelle that, and Annabelle's awesome. And then when I watched it, I was just like, Annabelle's okay. Then I saw Creation, and I'm like, well, that was really good. And then Comes Home, I was like, that was even better.
Yeah.
So it just kept, for me, the progression of the movies kept getting better and better.
Cool.
But yeah, that's my number 6 creation.
Awesome. What's your number 7?
Not in this series, but The Curse of La Llorona
Okay.
is my number 7 because I really liked it. So they say it's not in the universe. You know, fuck them. I put it in the universe. That's my number 7.
No, I agree with that. Yeah, they that's how they announced it even back then. So
it's just funny that they get a character from the movies to go in that movie, and then they say that it's not part of it, even though that character is connected to the universe.
They need to own it. Yeah. They made it.
they don't like it, you know, then that's on them.
Yeah.
I personally liked it, and I know there's probably other people liked it. So if you guys like it, tell us in the comments. You know, what did you think of The Curse of La Llorona? Was it good or was it bad? But yeah, that's my number 7.
Okay. My number 7 was The Conjuring 3. The Devil Made Me Do It.
Wow.
This is where we begin to differ in the ranking.
Yeah, because
I think that these last 3 are going to be very different.
Yeah, this one to me was my number 9 out of these 9 movies.
Yeah.
And it really it's 8 movies, but I added the Curse
the
into
9th,
it.
yeah.
So that's my number 9. But it's in my rankings. It's number 7. So, but yeah, Devil Made Me Do It. I was not a fan of this movie at all. I went in it thinking this is going to be a good movie, opposite to what Annabelle Comes Home was when I thought about it. And when I finished the movie, I just was not a fan of it. Didn't like it at all. I didn't like the story. I didn't like the witch. And I'm like, they already did the witch. They did it in the first Conjuring, so now they have another witch.
Another witch, yeah, okay.
They couldn't. They either didn't come up with a good idea and decided to run with that, or they could have done something completely better. You know, maybe a fallen priest or another Valak, you know, entry. It just, to me, it was.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just didn't like it.
The thing that frustrated me about this movie is that, yeah, like you said, they didn't really do anything new. It's just another witch. And obviously, the Bathsheba character, to me, was just scarier than the Isla Kastner one. And it really, they made it into like a judicial procedural type movie, and that kind of made it boring. And I understand they made it based on the real life events and everything like that. So, but yeah, no, it was just it bored me. It wasn't the best. The comic books kind of add to it, and that was kind of cool. But
do they make it better in the comics?
No, not really. It's just because it's just yeah, like we mentioned, it's just in the movie you see a vision that Lorraine is having, and then the comic books just sort of tell you the story about that vision, and that's it. That's the only thing that it expands. But it has nothing else to do with the movie. Also, the thing that frustrated me the most is that they never name like we talked about. We were really confused about who the demon is, or who is it, the devil, or who is it?
Yeah, exactly. Like I need to know like who actually is the villain.
Yeah.
Obviously, the witch was the main villain, but you know she's answering to somebody else. Is it the devil? Is it this demon that the Warrens believe? You know that was asking for souls. You know.
Yeah. In the end, she was very throwaway because she just dies and that's it, and we don't know really who or what. It was unclear. It was confusing, convoluted, I think you called it at some point.
Yeah.
And I agree. But even then, I didn't hate it as much as the next 2.
All right. So what's your number 8 then?
My number 8 is the first Annabelle.
Same here. My number 8 is the first
Annabelle.
Annabelle.
Okay. Wow. Then we only switched 2 movies at the end. Okay. All right. Yeah, this one to me was a very simple. Not that it was simple; it was simplistic. It just relied on some very basic tropes. The characters were not very memorable. It felt like straight to DVD movie to me. The production level wasn't like as good as the later entries, especially in the Annabelle series, and it was just a little bit forgettable. It wasn't boring. I was entertained while I was watching it, but then after I watched it, I was like,
I agree.
Wait,
I
what
was
happened?
entertained as well, but yeah, it was like you said, it's very forgettable.
yeah,
It just because the next two movies that came out afterwards just were just so much better, and it
Yeah.
just kept getting better.
and it explained a lot. And the Malthus entity is a lot scarier too.
Yeah,
So that's why.
and I'm guessing the number 9 is The Curse.
Yeah, the Curse of La Llorona, and I'm biased in this one because growing up with that story, that legend, I've heard many, not many, but a few different versions of it that have a lot more nuance. And I understand that the writers had to write something that was a lot more accessible, like you said, for other cultures to be able to absorb, right? So I get that. But in the end, I feel like the nuances of the different versions of the legend were lost, and the writers either did not find a way to I don't want them to shoehorn in all this other information or anything, but I think they kind of missed the overall point and nuances of the legend and how different Latin American cultures have interpreted it throughout the years. Just to give a couple of examples, one of the versions is that in colonial Mexico there was these systems of caste where if you were closer to your Spanish blood, obviously you would be on the higher echelons of society, and if you were closer to your indigenous blood, you would be lower. So in this version of the legend, La Llorona is like an indigenous woman who falls in love with a Spaniard, and they have kids, but then he is forced to marry another European woman in order to rise in society. And so she, in her heartbreak, drowns her kids, and now she haunts the streets of Mexico, wailing for her lost children.
Interesting.
And another version that's a little older than that one is that actually she is an Aztec entity or an Aztec spirit that had foreseen the coming of the Spaniards to conquest the Aztec lands, and that the reason she was wailing is because and when she goes, "Oh, my children," what she means is her children being the Aztec people being decimated by the Spaniards. And so that's another version of the legend, which really taps into the Mexican identity and being of mixed blood and things of that sort, which doesn't get mentioned at all in the movie. And I'm not saying that it needs to. And the story that they came up with was serviceable, but it didn't go beyond that, and that's my complaint, I guess.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. Because it's more knowledgeable for you in the culture that you grew up in, and
Right.
and for like me, seeing this, I'm thinking, oh, this is a great movie. It seems like it touched on all the bases, but obviously it's missing a lot.
Yeah, no, as a movie, it's a good movie.
But the way they told the story, it seems like America understands it the way they wrote it.
Yeah.
And they could ask and see if they can indulge of was there anything missing? Is this the actual true story? I'm sure that people have done that, but like I said, the way they wrote it, I think they wrote it for, I guess, the lesser. I don't want to say dumb white kids, but
No,
but it's Hollywood.
Like I said, it needed to be more accessible to a wider audience. So you can't just narrow it down to this one perspective, right? So it needs to be broader, so it can be more easy to consume by many audiences. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I also find problems with that too. Is like, yeah, it was nice. It was a nice watch, but I don't like a lot of times when they take liberties and change shit, or they don't tell you the full story. And that's my gripe, is that when they don't tell you the full story.
Yeah, no, I suppose my main complaint is just there was missed opportunities, and that's the part that it was a good movie, but it missed some opportunities, and that was my only gripe, really.
Okay. All right. Cool. So that's our rankings, right?
Yeah, that's all 9, even though
Yeah, I mean, it would have been 10 if we had Wolves at the Door, but unfortunately we couldn't get that movie to watch, since that is maybe part of it, since they're saying Curse was not part of it. Maybe it's not part of it. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was another entry in the series that they talk about, and they say that is, part of it, but who knows. But yeah, that's our Conjuring universe, with Ed and Lorraine Warren, from the 3 Conjuring movies, the 3 Annabelles, and the 2 nuns. We have The Curse of La Llorona, and the comic books, The Conjuring the Lover, Tales from the Artifact Room. There is a handful of shorts out there, like Ollin was talking about, that contest that they did, and then also the shorts that came out before the original Conjuring, which was titled the 3:07 a.m. Project. So if you guys can find those, watch them, or send them to us. Like, I would love to see those. Really, really interested. I'm one of those guys that, like, when I know that they have content out there of something that pertains to something I like, I want to watch it. I want to see all the content. Same thing too with like movies or DVDs that have like those extra features or cut scenes. Like if you film it, I want to watch it. I want to know why it was cut out of the movie. Maybe it pertained to something that was really interesting, and you just didn't have time to keep it in there. I find that shit interesting. I love seeing all the special features and all the extra shit. That's why I like these spin-offs, because they're extra stories that pertain to that world.
Yeah, it amplifies the universe. I think it really brings into context things that you might have missed or not understood all too well. Yeah, it really adds.
Yeah. So tell us what you guys think. What's your guys' list for the Conjuring universe? Put it in the comments. Tell us, how would you rank these movies and why? Let us know if you like The Curse of La Llorona. It's either a yay or nay. I mean, I guess there's some gray area, but for the most part, it's either you liked it or you didn't. And that's pretty much what I got from it. A lot of people actually told me that they didn't like it, and there's a small couple of people that said they did. So, and I'm part of that group that said they did. So yeah. You have anything else to add for the world of The Conjuring?
No, I think that pretty much. I mean, there's also the real life Ed and Lorraine, but a lot of that information is completely different. Not completely, but it's just different from the movies. That's another conversation. Yeah, really. And
it's another rabbit hole to dwell down.
And yeah, if you're hearing this, you've made it to the end. Thank you for listening to the Last Rites podcast, the podcast where we watch a lot of scary movies and we tell you what we feel about them.
Yeah, and this one is about the Conjuring universe, and this episode is unofficially sponsored by Liquid Death. It'd be great if we could get sponsored by Liquid Death. Talking to you, Liquid Death, Death the Plastic. We want you to help murder our thirst. Today we have Severed Lime.
Severed Lime, my favorite.
Yeah, it's my favorite too. This is part of their sparkling water entries. This is that green can. So Severed Death, Severed Lime, Liquid Death. Here's to you guys. Always delicious.
Nice. Murder your thirst.
That's right. Death to plastic. Make sure you guys recycle. If you guys like the music in the beginning and the end, our intro and outro, that is by a band named Zao, Z-A-O. You can check them out on zaoonline.net. The song is a raw mixed version of Creator Destroyer, which is off their new album. So check them out. Really good band. They're a metalcore, hardcore band. I'm not sure what actually they consider themselves, but they fall into that category. But they're one of my favorite bands, and they were nice enough to send me the music for the podcast. So check it out. Show them some support. zaoonline.net. And then we have some social medias for you guys. If you haven't already hit us up, we are on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, YouTube, Rumble. We are on the Apple Podcast, Spotify for podcasters, and Google Podcasts. And then we also have a TikTok where we do horror trivia. And then you can find out all of our information at our website, which is www.thehorrorscene.com. Got anything else to add?
Thank you for listening, Monster Squad.
That's right. We appreciate you guys out there. Keep it up. Check out the podcast on the podcast applications, or you can visit it on the YouTube or Rumble. And if you haven't already, please like and subscribe and hit the bell for all future notifications. So from me to Ollin, we want to have you guys remember to stay creepy and keep it spooky. From our grave to yours, these have been your last rites.
This is Last Rites.